We have students that are from our current internship class, and they will be talking with you about the Boys and Girls Club, Shed Children's Campus, Windrush Farm, and Northeast Ark. And I'm really, really excited for them to share their experiences so far this semester. So some of our students are solo at their sites. They're the only Merrimack intern there, so they'll be presenting the information to you by themselves. And then some of the sites like Shed and Windrush actually have multiple interns. So those students will be presenting the information together and then sharing individually about their experiences. So that will be great because we'll get to hear some different perspectives, even from students at the same site. I wanted to start briefly for anyone who is here and is thinking that they would like to do an internship and take the internship course either in the spring or next fall or even next spring, or if there's any freshmen here that are just looking to understand the process better. I wanted to share that the internship itself is about 8 to 10 hours on site each week at your internship. Some internship sites do require more hours, but for the course, we have an 8 to 10 hour minimum, but acknowledge to students that some sites might need you more. And that's totally fine because more hours and more experience is never a bad thing. You also are getting on-site supervision. So you have someone at the site who acts as your supervisor and who is there to check in with you. And then the biggest piece is really the hands-on experience that you are getting in a professional environment. That's a big part of sort of the course is just this hands-on experience on site and that ability to interact with professionals in the field. That's one of the most vital pieces is getting an understanding of what it's like to be in the field and meet other people doing these different jobs. The internship course itself meets as a group once a week. And the goal is really to provide group peer supervision and support your experiences. So the expectation is that you're coming to class ready to talk about what happened that week at your internship. Was there anything that was particularly challenging that the class can support you with? Was there anything that you feel like went really well and you just want to talk about it and share? Those are the great things to share in class and really get that support around. And students are encouraged to share with each other, but also give each other advice or things based on their own experience. And lastly, you really explore topics that are related to your internship experience. So because you have a supervisor, you talk about what that supervisor relationship is like and what challenges can sometimes come up. There's definitely conversations around ethical reasoning and cultural awareness because you're working with people who are different than you in many different ways, and you want to make sure you're aware of what their needs are versus what your understanding of their needs are. And another big piece is self-awareness and self-advocacy. How do you speak up for what you need? And how do you even know what you need when in this professional setting? And then lastly, we really like to focus on self-care and making sure that students are able to balance doing an internship and also school and potentially work and all those other things that come up. And how do we help you do that? So before we start with our students, if you in the audience have questions, if you could put them in the chat, that would be great, just so I don't miss anyone. Of course, if there's a little bit of a quiet lull, please feel free to ask your question yourself. But if there's multiple people, I just want to make sure we're hearing the students' questions, or if there's any faculty and staff here, I'd very much welcome your questions to students as well. So I am going to stop sharing my screen so that I can pass it over to Justin and he can share his and start sharing his experience and his internship.
All right, so let me try to figure this out.
Okay.
It's been a while, but okay. Is this visible?
Yes, looks great.
Awesome. All right. So hello, everyone. I am the sole intern at the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Haverhill. Just a little overview of what the Boys and Girls Club does and their kind of mission. Their mission statement is to enable young people, especially those who need us most, to reach their full potential as productive, caring, and responsible citizens. And asking around some of the staff, the population they mainly work with is considered low income, high risk, and this community surrounds the area in Haverhill. So some staff introductions. These three people are the main people I've been in contact with there. At the top of the chain, so to speak, we have Shannon Mission. She's the director of operations. Some background around her is that this is her second year at the Boys and Girls Club. She has a bachelor's in biotech from Assumption College and 2 master's degrees in education. And some personal background to her and her motivation for working at the Boys and Girls Club is that she has a passion to work with the community and she's extremely motivated to help those in need. So a little under her is Jessie Fainer. She's the program director. This is also her second year at the Boys and Girls Club. And she has a bachelor's from URI in communication, and she also minored in human development and family and leadership studies. Jessie loves to work with the kids and feels that the Boys and Girls Club provides a safe place for them. And she believes that there's a strong sense of belonging at the Boys and Girls Club, and the kids and staff feel more like a family to her. And then the supervisor I work with directly is Eric McGee. He's the teen director. This is his first year, and he has a bachelor's in communication from UMass Amherst. Eric's goals and motivations for working the Boys and Girls Club is to teach kids coping mechanisms that he wishes he had at their age and to help them pursue their dreams. So something people may have noticed here is that the staff tenure is fairly short. So the majority of the staff is fairly new and working in this environment. And you can see from some of the educational backgrounds, there's a wide variety of where people come from educationally. And I think this is a great part of the institution because you work around a lot of people with very different backgrounds and motivations. And it's really cool to see how everything comes together in one, kind of under one roof. So the role of the intern, or my role, there's not anything super strict there. Everything's very open-ended, and work tends to be on a day-to-day basis. Each role and responsibility relies on which group you're with age-wise. I chose to work in the teen department, so I work with kids generally from 12 to 18. There's a wide variety there, but we also have a ton of different programs, ranging from programs in the gym that focus on physical health and everything kind of related to that. There's a STEM program that really works on sciences and math. And there's a cognitive abilities department, which really looks at kind of how, as younger kids, we interact with the world around us very broadly. Saying that, responsibilities mainly involve watching the kids and helping them with schoolwork or any other issues. I say that because my role there, that's really where everything is kind of focused on, but it also really depends on what department you're working with. So why I chose the Boys and Girls Club. I chose the Boys and Girls Club mainly from past experience and because of the work they do with their population. So over the summer, this past summer, I worked as an assistant group leader at the Boys and Girls Club in my hometown, and I loved it there. And the Boys and Girls Club in Haverhill provided a new and different environment for me. And this brings new challenges and opportunities. Um, and the work experience and involvement with the staff in both buildings I've worked in is very interpersonal and passionate. So it's a great environment to be in, which is why I chose to go back to it. And I was really interested to see how different it would be working with different populations. So some of the challenges, again, challenges are pretty pretty open-ended. There's not anything specific that anyone would be working with. However, there are still challenges that need to be dealt with, and sometimes they can be intimidating. Some of these challenges can come from working with diverse groups of kids from different backgrounds. This can be new and difficult to approach at first, but once you get some experience and some interaction with them, it's not something too difficult to work with down the road. And then the involvement in activities requires individual initiative. There's a lot of stuff that I've found that I need to get myself into rather than being asked to do. So it really takes someone's willingness to be active and to be involved in whatever activities are going on. Some days may be faster or slower. Working in the teen department, there are some days where we have upwards of 25, 30 kids, and other days we may just have 4. That's kind of just how it goes, but either way, I mean, it's still enjoyable and there's a ton of stuff to do. And then lastly, there's a wide variety of personalities to interact with. Everyone has their own interests. Everyone comes from somewhere a little different. So there's a lot of people to be around, and it may be challenging, but it's still enjoyable. So what I like most, the environment there is extremely welcoming, extremely energetic, and the diverse group of kids is really fun to be around, and that goes from any age group. There are fun and interesting activities each day. We tend to try to have a theme around each day of the week. So that adds a little variety, and each day is kind of different. You never really know how many kids you'll be working with, and even though there are themes to every day, there are different ways we like to tackle it or like to switch it up. And I think most importantly, the staff is extremely kind and flexible. They don't see you as someone who just goes there and kind of stands around for course credit. You're going to learn something. At the same time, if there's extra needs you need to be filled from school or from other life things, I found the staff is extremely flexible and understanding about all of that. And that is it.
Great. One question I'll ask you, Justin, while just as you're ending your presentation, is knowing what it's like and what it's like to have been there for a little over a month now, or 2 months almost. What kind of student do you feel like, or what types of personalities might do well interning with the Boys and Girls Club?
I think that's a great question. I think personalities that are, very outgoing and kind of interactive with others go really well. I wouldn't call myself the most outgoing that there is, but it's still a great environment because everyone is willing to talk or learn about something, and you're always going to be involved in some way.
Yeah, that's great. And I think you touched upon some important things. To be there, you really need to be able to just sort of jump in sometimes, and they are very willing to listen to your needs, which is huge for students. I think that's really important. So if you're able to tell them what you need, they'll work to meet that, which is a great quality, I think, in an internship. So that's excellent. All right, well, thank you so much. And we will have, if people have students directly for Justin, you can ask them now or wait towards the end of the presentations. But I am gonna have the SHED group get ready and share their screen.
Alrighty, let me try and figure this out.
Mhm.
Alrighty, can we see that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I am one of 4. My name's Larissa. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves too?
Mhm.
Hello everyone, my name is Logan. I also intern at Shed too.
I am Kat. I'm also interning at Shed. Also, sorry for my voice. I'm cold right now. So
And my name is Noah. I'm also the 4th internship at Shed.
Alrighty, so just some background on Shed. These are 2 of the main buildings on their campus, and this little green spiral right here is their logo, and I took that little quote from their website. It says that they chose their spiral as a logo for the connection it has to nature and the beautiful symbolism it poses for personal development and growth. So Shed's driving philosophy is the Reggio Emilia philosophy, and it states that at the heart of the Reggio Emilia philosophy is the child. Basically that the child's natural curiosity should be what drives the learning, and that an educator's job is to facilitate activities that help the child explore their natural interests and also observe how the child learns.
So Shed's mission statement is they're committed to creating a welcoming environment for children, family, staff, and they value all, regardless of gender identity, age, race, disability, socioeconomic status, and religion or sexual orientation. They welcome everyone into the community to better connect, embrace, and learn more from each other.
So a little bit about my experience at Shed. I chose Shed because after having done my research and reading about their mission and how the Reggio Emilia philosophy inspired them, I felt as though it aligned with my personal values, and I thought I would be a good fit there. Some challenges that I've faced, I wouldn't say it's a challenge, more of trying to figure out how to navigate it, but it would be the different personalities and needs of the younger population, because I work with 20-month-olds to almost 3-year-olds, and I've never worked with such a young population before. The oldest I've worked with was middle schoolers, so trying to figure that out has been a challenge for me. But what I like most about my internship is just playing with my kids, especially if they have had a hard day or just had come out of a tantrum or were crying. It's kind of fulfilling just to be that comfort person for them in the moment, and seeing them laugh and play with you after something like that that just makes me happy. So my roles and responsibilities in the Caterpillars program, which is the toddlers classroom, is helping the children as needed throughout the day. I help them with lunchtime, opening their snacks, feeding them if they need help. I play with them inside and outside, and then observe and support the children, and also support the teachers in any way that I can or whenever they need me. So I work directly under Emily Mello. She started working for Shed in 2009 while she was in high school, actually. So she's been there for a little over 10 years. She did her student teaching at Shed, and she worked as a preschool assistant there as well. And then after graduation, she started working there as well.
So why I chose this internship placement is because I also didn't have any experience working with younger kids. I've only worked with middle school and high school kids. So I wanted to see what it was like working with a younger population. And I also went to intern at the site because I was interested in the Reggio Emilia approach. The only challenges I've had so far is only working with the younger kids because I'm not used to it. And then the stuff I like the most about Shed is how supportive all the faculty and staff are. and the kids like make my day every time I go in the morning. And I also like that I do different tasks when I go in because I'm not doing the same thing every time. Like one day I'll be in like one classroom, but then they'll put me in like another classroom the next day. So like I get to like branch out and like experience like different classrooms. And then roles and responsibilities. I'm typically in the springboard room, which is ages 4 to 5, and it's for kids who aren't ready yet for kindergarten, but they also like are past preschool. And then I also just help the teachers. I help with the kids outside, inside. I help them with crafts, puzzles, and board games. And my supervisor is Linda. She's been working at Shed since 1992. She's also the executive director at Shed, and she has her bachelor's degree in sociology from MCLA. Linda's pretty cool because like she does all the classes with the kids. Like she teaches them yoga, and then she tries to figure out other activities to bring to Shed, and she does all the research for the school as well.
So my name is Noah, and why I had chosen Shed Children's Campus was because I wanted an internship experience where it didn't feel like I was kind of in the background. I wanted something that was more hands-on. And I'm in a classroom where there's about 20 to 25 kids, so that can get very hands-on, but it's awesome. And I felt that Shed, they focused on a lot of social emotional development, which allows children in a way to develop meaningful relationships with other children and other peers. So I thought that was really cool in terms with along with the Reggio Emilia philosophy. And challenges I've faced, I would say, with a classroom of 20 to 25 kids, it can be complicated trying to keep them all to behave or keep them from getting too loud and everything. That can be a problem because I know we have a student coming in with sensory issues, and so trying to keep that noise level down and everything has been hard to kind of navigate because after school, they kind of just want to like let their energy loose from behaving and staying in order all day. And what I like most about Sheds so far is just kind of seeing the relationships bloom, especially with kids who are new to the program, opening up to other kids and like making new friends and like not just kind of sitting there, and especially with me too, seeing the kids open up to me, and just like asking me questions and like asking me to play with them, do arts and crafts with them, our homework. So that's probably my favorite thing so far. And then my supervisor is Dina Hurley. She is the program director at Shed, and she had also started there the same time as Linda at 1992. She started there as a teacher, and she had graduated from Wheelie College with a bachelor's in human development. And in 2000, she got her master's in child development. And since 2018, she has been serving as the program director for all programs. So that's like the kids club, the older kids, the toddlers. And prior to working to Shed, Dina had worked as a nanny, and she felt that she wanted a different environment because she felt it was too isolating, and she wanted to be more outside and like more connected with more children. So that's why she had chosen Shed, because she loves the staff at Shed and she loves the supportive family-centered environments there. She gets to interact with every age group there, every student, and that's one of the reasons she stuck there for almost 30 years. And my roles and responsibilities is I work with the first and second graders, and they're pretty easy to kind of deal with. At the end of the day, they just like doing activities with like board games or like doing arts and crafts. A lot of the time I'm sewing with them in the classroom, and just kind of backdoor activities too. And I help teachers when needed. So like if they need me to bring a student down when parents have arrived, or if they need me to take phone calls or take over a classroom for a little bit when they need to leave for a second. So those are kind of my roles and responsibilities.
All right, so now talk about my specific roles and responsibilities at Shed. So I am in the 3rd and 4th grade classroom, working with their after-school program, assisting students with homework if they have any that night, as well as participate and plan different activities during their free time. I've also noticed that a lot of times the 3rd and 4th graders will be sitting during the day at school, listening to their teachers. So when they come to us, they're very high energetic and they want to kind of get outside and play, which is perfect for what I like to do because I'm a very active person. I'm always down to go play basketball, run around, do anything like that. So it really helps me with that. And then why I chose Shed, because I knew I wanted to find some place working with children. I love their outdoor based like curriculum. Also, Shed was one of the first placements to reach back out to me. And when I went to give a tour or went to go see the place and look at all the facilities they had, it kind of drew me in. They have a bunch of fields, bunch of outdoor basketball courts area, ropes course, obstacle courses, playgrounds. So all the things that students love and are attracted to. And then quickly, some challenges that I've faced so far is more finding my voice. Sometimes it can be hard being the new person, especially for these younger students around the 3rd and 4th grade. So just trying to gain their respect, as well as being that fun person that they want to come up to and play with or ask for help. So kind of balancing that aspect of authority can be challenging at times. And then lastly, what I like most about Shed, of course, the children are great. I love playing with them. I love talking to them, gaining deeper relationships and connections with them. But also the staff is wonderful. They always say hi to me, ask how my school's been, what I'm doing this weekend, just things to interact within the staff. I've felt very friendly, very welcoming since the first time I stepped onto their campus. I've fit right in, and I've loved that.
Awesome. So that was great. Thank you guys so much. A couple of things I noticed. First of all, the cool thing about the 4 of you being there is you're all working with different age groups, which is really cool. So even though there's 4 students at the same site, you're all doing different things and we're able to speak to that. And one thing I also really liked that Noah actually mentioned is you sort of jump in and do whatever you need to do and cover things that need to be covered. And I think that's a really great thing for other students to hear, because it's the idea that, especially at the undergraduate level, when you're jumping into an internship, it's all about learning about every aspect. So maybe you didn't walk in and think you would be answering a phone call or, you know, bringing someone to go be dismissed at the end of their after school time. But it's all about being part of the team. And it also sounds like that you're really welcomed as part of that school community. And it's not, you know, I think sometimes people have this like intern experience where they don't feel integrated. But so far, both from hearing from Justin and from all of you from Shed, it feels like you're really integrated as part of the team, which is great. From your experience so far, I'll ask you guys the same question I asked Justin, is what qualities do you feel like a student that's looking at Shed might need to be successful there? What type of a student might do really well there?
I think someone that's one kind of patient. Things can kind of be crazy at times. Students can be coming at all different times. So making sure that you're patient with them, giving them options, giving them things to do. Sometimes they come and they're a bunch of energy, which is great. I love that, but also they have to be calm and respectful to other students that want to do other things. If they have homework, if they want to read or be quiet. So being able to balance that too as well.
Yeah, great. Anything different anybody else has for what kind of qualities are helpful?
I think for me personally, just someone who's flexible and can adapt easily, because For me personally, so the toddler classrooms are connected, but they're like, you know, 2 different classrooms. And some days the attendance will be really low in Emily's classroom. So I'll have to go to the other classroom with Joanna, and just like trying to balance and, you know, keep up, I think someone that's flexible and open-minded would do really well there as well.
Absolutely. Perfect. So, and that goes, I think, across all ages, but being able to be flexible and do what you need to do and understand that it might not be the same experience at all the next time you walk in. So that's awesome. Great. Thank you guys so much. So again, if people have questions, think of some questions for this group, and we can kind of get to them after we finish the presentations. All right. Thank you again. So next we have Abby and Kelsey.
All right, let me share my screen.
Great.
All right, is that visible?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I'm Abby.
I'm Kelsey.
And this is our internship, and it's right down the street in North Andover. Not far at all. Nope. I don't know why it's not going to the next. Okay, I don't know why it's not.
Sometimes you can't use your arrows. You have to click on it. That's in Zoom for some reason. But you can just, present it. That should work.
Okay, so the mission statement is Windrush promotes confidence, independence, and well-being in children and adults with physical, cognitive, and emotional challenges through therapeutic riding and horse-related programs.
All right, and who they serve is adults and kids over the age of over the age of 6, and they help the disabled with the following: autism, ADHD, PTSD, etc.
So some of the staff members are in charge, well, obviously they're in charge of everything. There's a lot to do on this farm, and there's a ton of volunteers. So they have certain people in charge of volunteers, making sure they're trained, either if you're remote or working with clients. And they also design specific programs for the clients, making sure they get the most out of this therapy. And some of the roles the staff members hold are CEO, Chief Operating Officer, volunteer coordinator, programs and marketing assistant, and a registered instructor with the horses. So my supervisor is the CEO, Janet Nittman. She basically looks over everything that happens on the farm. She makes sure the classes are all set before clients arrive, and she also tends to some volunteers and make sure their work does not go unnoticed. And she's also in charge of all the upkeep on the farm.
I have the office manager, and she basically is in charge of the interns and the volunteers to make sure they're all set and have everything all figured out.
So I'm a remote volunteer, so I basically just do research every week. Janet gives me a new assignment. The first week I actually just found goats for the farm to come with weed control. So some of the stuff she gives me, it's fun and it's interesting. It's something I really never thought I would do. And she also is going to have me come to the farm a few times. So remote interns can also still go to the farm and learn some things on there too.
Great.
And I'm in person. So basically I do barn work and horse handling. I haven't gotten there yet, but the staff has been telling me that by the end of my time there, I will be a horse handler. So that's really exciting. And I walk in the classes, I walk right next to the horse while the client's on, just to make sure they don't fall off and they're calm and all that.
So I chose Windrush because I heard about it through two of my friends that worked there and volunteered, and they loved it. And I never really heard about horse therapy before, and I wanted just to kind of know more about it. And I thought it was a really cool thing. So it was something that I really wanted to be a part of.
And why I chose Windrush was because I want to help people, and I also love animals, and I love working with animals. So I thought this would be a great internship for me. And I also had no idea that horse therapy was the thing. So I was really excited to find out more about it and actually be on the farm.
And some challenges, mine are just kind of personal. It's really time management. Luckily, you don't need to do your internship that many hours a week, 8 to 10 hours. It's really manageable. And if you choose the right internship and it's something you're passionate about, something you're passionate about, I would say it's pretty easy to manage your time.
And one thing that I was having a hard time with was being in person. There's a lot of information that's being thrown at you. And since I'm not there a lot of the time, I'm only there 2 times a week. So I feel like when I go back there, I kind of have to like relearn stuff. But the staff were really, really good about like having me ask a lot of questions, and they're like, don't hesitate to, if you forget something, like we'd rather have you ask than just to try to do it yourself. So that's it.
Great. So the interesting thing, I think, for both of you at Windrush is the fact that you're doing it at the same site, but one of you is remote and the other one is in person, which is really, really cool. So I'm curious about, for Kelsey, for you doing the remote internship, what is there? Do you get to talk about things that you're interested in? Does Janet have the ideas? Like, how does that work?
So basically every week she just gives me new stuff, but I really like it because she'll always want me to put like my personal touch on it. So after all my assignments, then I do another one saying what I think personally what should happen. So like this week I'm working on how to get more volunteers our age and maybe like getting more advertisement out. And they do a lot on Facebook, which really our age group isn't really on Facebook as much. So we were talking about even going on like TikTok and going on Instagram. So it was fun.
That's great. Well, it's so beneficial because she needs your perspective, right? But you're also helping with her project. So there's a real nice give and take there, which is really, really cool. And I think what I noticed from the interns last year who did the remote work, you're indirectly involved, but also you're learning like the research skills, but also you're learning how to add value to this organization. So you're still, involved in how to make a place better, which is really cool. So it just adds a cool component and a different type of internship that people just might not understand is even out there.
And I will even say, when me and Janet first started talking, she asked what my strengths were, and she was like, if anyone's photographers out there, she even said, if you could take pictures, come to the farm, you could do that for your internship. Like they really try to base it around your strengths, which I find really cool.
Yeah, that's excellent. And I think, again, it helps you even develop them further, which is great. And for Abby, you're there on ground and like immersed fully into the experience, which is really cool. And I bet, what's sort of the most surprising thing that you've had to do so far or that you didn't anticipate?
I didn't really know I was going to have to be doing as much barn work as I was doing. I just kind of thought I would be helping out with the classes, but it's actually made me learn a lot. And I help with like tacking the horses for classes and like cleaning the barn, which is really interesting. I've been learning a lot about that, and I wasn't expecting.
And I also think it goes to the point of every little bit helps this organization do and meet its ultimate goal, and it's to serve this population. So I think sometimes we feel like, wait, I'm like tacking horses, what does this have to do with working with this individual? But you're helping allow this horse to be ready so this person can come in and ride them and have their class. And that's really, really cool. And then it sounds like it's one step that you're learning in how the whole process works. And then you're making your way up and you're doing the sidewalking, which is really, really cool. And then you're going to be able to do the horse handling and get you to be more engaged. So it's like you're starting from kind of the beginning steps and learning, which is really great. So from both of you, same question is, what do you think a quality is if a student is thinking, oh, this sounds kind of interesting? And it might be different because one of you is remote and one of you is in person. But for Abby, for someone that might be there on ground, what are some of the qualities that a student might need or something they might need to possess to be there?
I feel like, well, obviously, like a lot of people actually have had horses in past, so it's really cool because like they will basically they'll basically know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's like a big,
kind of gives you a leg up a little bit. Awesome. I think being comfortable in the outdoors around horses is also very important, because you're outside all the time, right? Yeah, awesome. All right, what about for you, Kelsey, for that remote experience? What types of kind of qualities do you think would be helpful for someone to have?
I would say just practice your writing skills a lot because you're doing a lot of research and you have to know how to get your thoughts out and how they could understand it. And I just had another one in my head and it just being organized, because everything's going in one folder, and like that's Janet's biggest thing because there's so many volunteers. So she kind of wants to go into this folder, find what she's looking for, and have to search for everything. So just placing everything where it's neatly organized.
Yes, and that's important. I think that I love the mention of the writing skills and really being mindful that this is something other people are reading and you're presenting the information, and also that organizational, and you mentioned time management. And I think you're right. I love that you said, it's manageable, and it's also more manageable if you're doing something you like. And that's couldn't be more true. Like if it's something you enjoy, you will make it work and you'll fit it in, and you'll probably prefer to do that than some of your classes, but we won't advertise that point. But that's so true. So that's why it's so important to really like immerse yourself and engage in this internship experience, because it can be so beneficial and it's just fun and it can be really enjoyable. So that was great. I appreciated that. All right, well, thank you guys so much. And we have our very last presenter, Kelly, who's going to talk about her experience at Northeast Ark.
Okay, you guys can see this, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so my name is Kelly, and I am at Northeast Ark, which, yeah, we have to click here. Okay, so the Ark that I'm at is located in Danvers. It's about a 30-minute drive from campus, so not too bad. Their mission statement states, the Northeast Ark helps people with disabilities become full participants in the community, choosing for themselves how to live, learn, work, socialize, and play. So the Northeast Ark really serves people of all ages with disabilities, but the specific place where I'm at within their facility is called the Learning Center. So a little bit more about the Learning Center. They offer applied behavior analysis, or ABA, in a child care setting. So it's very similar to a daycare, except there's a lot more teachers, I guess you could say. Almost every child that is in the daycare has a diagnosis of autism, in which they receive one-on-one ABA therapy. So they have 4 different classrooms. We have preschool, pre-K, and toddler. And I think preschool is split up into 2 different rooms. So the ages range from about 15 months to 6 years old. A little bit about the staff there. My direct supervisor is Jill McKinty, who is the director of their whole learning center. So she tells everybody where to go and that type of thing. A little bit below her is Julia Volchak, and she's the clinical director. So she schedules all the therapy sessions for the technicians and the children, and she makes everything go smoothly. And then under Julia would be the board certified behavior analyst, or the BCBAs, which are the actual therapists that evaluate and create treatment plans for the clients. And then below them would be the registered behavior technicians, who are the people who are directly in contact with the client, implementing their own treatment plan with the child one-on-one. So my role as an intern, I started off observing, and I'm still kind of in this in-between observing stage. So I get to go to all the different classrooms and meet all the kids and really just see how everything works, which is very helpful at the beginning because it's a lot. And then, I'm also training to become a certified registered behavior tech, which in order to do that, you need to do a 40-hour training, and then you are observed by a BCBA for a competency test. And then once they clear you for all of that, then you can go take an exam. And like I said before, the registered behavior techs are the ones that are directly working with the clients and implementing their treatment plans. So eventually, during my internship, my supervisor and I are working together so that I get to a place where I'm comfortable enough and that I feel like I know enough to be one-on-one with a client myself, and I would be implementing their treatment plan. Why I chose Northeast Ark, I worked with children before and I absolutely loved it. So I knew that I wanted to be somewhere with kids, but I definitely knew that I wanted a challenge and something different that I've never done, because I saw the internship as an opportunity to explore future career options for myself and to see, like, is the autism community and ABA something that I could see myself doing in the future? So I thought that the ARC was absolutely perfect for this opportunity. Challenges that I face, I think at first it is very overwhelming, especially if you have no background with ABA, because it is very specific and very detail oriented and lots of details. But I think once you get used to it and you kind of see there's patterns and you can see, okay, this is what we're doing and that type of thing, you can definitely want to like jump in. But I think it's really important to have that observation piece so you can feel more comfortable. And I think my favorite part so far would be definitely meeting all of the wonderful staff and children. Obviously, some days are better than others, but the smiles on kids' faces just make your whole day so much better. And I think that's it.
Great. So I think you know what question I'll be asking you. I've asked everybody. What are those qualities? Who do you think would have success being in where you are at ARC? Because I know ARC has lots of programs, but for your program specifically.
I would have to say the top quality of a person who wants to intern here would have to be patience. Mm-hmm. Because at least for me, everything in the whole ABA world and even the autism world was brand new to me. So I really started from square one. And I think having good patience helps you throughout this whole learning curve, and even paces yourself so that you feel comfortable enough so where you can get to that point where you want to step up and just go to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is a really cool, unique experience where you're doing your internship and also being given the opportunity to do this certification process. So that's great. And I'm really glad that you took on that challenge because it could really benefit you in the long run. So thank you. And I actually may ask you one of our questions. So we have two questions. I am going to answer the, Naja, I'm going to answer yours in a minute. but I'm going to ask first Kelly this question, which is from one of our audience members, is how have your internship experiences given you new ideas about what you might want to do after graduation?
So I think if I didn't have this internship experience, that I would have no idea how much I absolutely love the ABA world. I think in classes, ABA, and no offense to any of the faculty, we kind of brush over the ABA stuff, and it's not in like a ton of detail. And I think even these past like 2 months where I've been at my site, I've learned so much, and through my training and just everything, I think that for me personally, I think this is going to be like my path, and I want to actually pursue this and maybe even become a BCBA someday.
Awesome. Excellent. And I love that, because I think that sometimes we just don't know until we experience it. So I always tell students there's no bad internship experience, because it will either set you on a path that feels really great, or it'll tell you something that might not be a good fit for you. So that's great. So I am going to ask others too. Anyone else, what do you think? Has this helped you figure out maybe something you want to do after you leave Merrimack?
I think for me personally, I think I'm going to quote something from a guest speaker last semester. With experience comes clarity. And I knew I always wanted to work in a school. I just wasn't sure the age group. And I think this internship experience definitely solidified that I didn't want to work with a younger population, as much as I love them, but I definitely see myself working with an older population in high school rather than the little babies.
Yeah. And again, I think it's great to know that and to have had the experience, and you can still enjoy it and have it tell you, this isn't right, but okay, now I know. So that's great. That's excellent. Anybody else? What do you think? How has this sort of helped you think about what's next?
I think it's really it's kind of hard to tell at this moment. It's still like early on.
Yeah.
It's only been maybe a little over a month. I've really enjoyed my internship. I don't really know if it's told me if this is something I want to do or not. Just kind of enjoying it and seeing kind of where it takes me in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
One step at a time.
Yeah. Good. So I will quickly answer this question about internships as requirements, because I have some questions for our students too. And it actually leads into my first question for them. So internships are required only if you are a sophomore this year or a freshman this year. So this group, that's speaking to us, they chose to do it because they're very intelligent individuals that knew it was a great way to sort of round out their college experience. But so if you are a junior or a senior right now, the internship is an option. It is not required. But for freshmen and sophomores, it is a requirement. So that leads into the question for all of you is, what led you to decide to do an internship this semester? I'm Kelsey. Yeah, you unmuted. I'm going to go.
Honestly, I was starting to apply to graduate programs, and it just looks so much better. Like that you're going to go into a field and have some type of internship that you did, even if it's like I'm doing school psychology, but it's just the horse therapy in itself is still going to look good.
Yeah, absolutely.
About bettering yourself.
Absolutely. And it's taking a step into that professional world, I think. So that is a great reason. So absolutely, for people thinking about applying to graduate school, having that experience first is key. Who else? What about, Noah?
Yeah, I also agree that it looks amazing on a resume. But I also think for students who don't necessarily know the path they're going to take for psychology or their major, and in terms of an occupation later on, after college, I think it's a great way to kind of like navigate and get an experience. That's kind of what I did. So I'm getting my experience at Shed right now, and at first I was kind of in the same boat as Larissa, but seeing this kind of like gradual shift where like the students kind of start to like you now, and they start to listen a little more, and you know, once you like kind of talk to them to like get them to behave, they kind of listen a little more, you know, it starts to become a lot nicer, and it starts to change your mind a little bit, at least for me. And so yeah, I kind of went into this like not really knowing what I wanted to do after, and now with this experience, it's kind of changing my mind and kind of making me see what I want to do after college. So I think for students who don't necessarily know what they want to do, an internship can either show them what they want to do later on, or maybe kind of, you know, show them what they don't like, or, you know, like just kind of help them navigate their future.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And what about, I'm just going to call on Kat.
So I had like a different reasons why I wanted to like do an internship. Like I'm also a health science major, so I just do a mandatory like internship for that. And then looking back on it, I was like, oh, I wanted to like a more like psychology based internship, like experience. And I'm happy I did, because it's given me so much like knowledge about psychology, and it's made me think about what population I want to work with in the future. And it's even like made me think about like maybe doing an internship like next semester too.
Good. That's excellent. What about Justin?
I personally think you can't not benefit from having an internship. I don't really plan on working kind of where I am now, but the exposure itself is super important, and even getting comfortable with simple things like walking into a new building and meeting new staff. It's, you know, more prep and more exposure, all that I think is fantastic for the future. Even though, you know, I don't really know where I'm going yet. So
yeah, and that's so important. I think just that ability to engage with other people that you don't know in a different setting outside of a classroom, or just outside of being on campus, getting that exposure to sort of somewhere else, somewhere different, is really important. And it helps you build those professional skills and those interpersonal skills that you might not have a chance to practice as much in the classroom. Awesome. What about for you, Abby?
I kind of just wanted the experience, and I also didn't really know what I wanted to do after college. So I think the experience is really good for me.
Yeah.
And I really wasn't expecting to intern at Windrush. But now that I'm there, I feel like I want to start going down that path more. So
excellent. And there's this, once you research it, there's a surprising amount of places similar. This one's great because it's so close, but if you look, you know, there's more if you wanted a different setting or a different type of experience. So that's great. I think I've heard from everybody, right? Anyone else want to jump in? So one thing I wanted to ask all of you, more for the benefit of other students listening, was about the process. So what was your process in securing this internship? What was one of the first things you did? And what was something that you found challenging? So sort of all three of those questions wrapped into one.
If I can jump in.
Yeah.
Well, it was really helpful being in the class, because you're given a list of options and you get to kind of explore that. I think the most difficult part was having to be patient on responses back, especially in my case. The entire kind of staff hierarchy was kind of wiped away, and a ton of people are new. So they're still trying to figure out how they handle interns and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But even then, for other institutions, you still need to have a lot of patience, because one opportunity you might be really set on, and then you won't hear anything for a month. So even though you're trying to keep in contact with them, so the patience is a huge part, I think.
I see heads nodding, so I don't think you're alone in that feeling, right? And I like that you said that, because some of the places that you apply, sometimes it takes them a long time to respond to you. And there's lots of reasons. And a lot of it is just the volume at which they're, like at the Boys and Girls Club, gosh, there's so many kids there every day. And they're changing leadership and people's positions. So in every, agency, there's a lot going on. So the best advice I can give to students is patience, but also a little bit of perseverance, where you're keeping track and you're reaching out again. And I said that to many people. Did you check in? Have you emailed them again? Have you gotten back to you? Are you tracking it? So being aware of that is great. And also, not emailing one place and then waiting a month and not doing anything until you hear back, right? You email 5 places and then you wait a couple weeks, and then maybe you reach out to more. So it's that really being on top of it, and it can be time consuming and it's stressful, but you've all ended up with a really great experience, which is great because you took the time and really were patient and really pursued it. So what else? What was other people's process, and what was another first thing you might have done in order to start the process of securing your internship?
I knew I wanted to take this class, and I just called Windrush one day and I was like, hi, do you guys like offer any like volunteering or internships? They were like, yeah, we do. And they were so friendly over the phone, and they called me back the next day and basically were just like, all right, do you want to start in the fall? And I was like, yeah, it'd be perfect. And we emailed a little bit over the summer. I was in contact with Janet and Betsy all through the summer, and I came back, and it was a little hard the first week because they were having internships come back on the farm for the first time. So they had to kind of deal with that for a little bit. And then after like a week and a half, they got around to me, and it was honestly such an easy process. Like I just gave them a phone call and asked.
You know what a lot of people won't do though, is make a phone call. So you're a rare person. You didn't just send an email, you made a phone call. So again, love it. I love that you said that, because sometimes that's quicker. That's a quicker route. They'll pick up the phone.
Yeah.
They know that people are calling and inquiring. And so if you get somebody that way, then that is amazing. And a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah.
So that, I think, it made it easier for you, because
they do that.
yeah. So there's certain sites that you should absolutely, maybe all of them. But again, that's a part of keeping track. If you sent an email, you're not hearing, then make that phone call. So that's great. I'm glad that you said that. Anybody else want to share a little bit about sort of what their process was, what their first steps were?
I can say mine.
Yeah.
So Katie actually recommended me to Shed and Northeast Ark, and I kind of immediately said no to Shed, but I did reach out and emailed, and I did my interview. And after the interview, I had this like colliding moment where I was like, I don't know where I want to go now. And then interviewed with the Ark, and I kind of knew that them offering me like this certification training too was like, I couldn't pass that up. So I actually had to turn down Shed, which broke my heart a little bit, but I think I ended up at the right place. So it all ended up fine.
Absolutely. And that is another awesome example. And it's also why I encourage people to even interview at multiple places to see. Of course, in your case, Kelly, it made it a little more challenging to make the choice, but that's a good problem to have, right? More options is always a good thing. So that's a great example, because you went out and you interviewed and you went to both places, and you didn't just take kind of the first thing. You really looked at what options you had. And then the other piece that I really love too is that you went with an option that was different than what you had done before. So you took it as a challenge and also were able to take on the certification. So again, that's what you get when you kind of give yourself more options. So that's great. So thank you. That's awesome. So another question I have for anyone that wants to throw out an answer is about when you're at your site, have you found yourself making connections to things you've learned in the classroom? Or sort of in the same theme, are you seeing or learning anything at your internship site that it like illustrates sort of things you've learned? So things you've learned in the classroom or at your site that sort of feel connected.
I can go again. A few weeks ago, we talked about tattoos in the workplace and how they fit in if they're appropriate, like this whole thing, like stereotyping and that type of thing. And after we talked about that and like read that article, I noticed that I would say 90% of the staff in the learning center that I'm like where I'm at has tattoos. And I haven't gotten the courage yet to ask anyone, but I don't think anybody asked them to cover like their arms or anything, which I thought was really interesting. And I think I was like, oh, like we just talked about this like 2 weeks ago.
That's great. I love it. I like that you could connect it because it was something you might not have thought of if we weren't, that wasn't something that was brought into the class discussion. So that's very cool. I'm thinking specifically, I guess maybe not specifically, since lots of people are doing some work with children, but I'm thinking about the folks at Shed because there's such a range. And curious if you've connected anything to any of your psych classes, especially I don't know if people have developmental psychology or anything like that. But anything you've noticed when kind of working with kids and seeing different ages and kind of stages.
I think it's kind of interesting to see the younger generations kind of interact with each other. I think definitely we've talked a lot about how kind of COVID and being at home and being away from their other peers and teachers for a long period of time can affect their development when it comes to like social aspects.
Yeah.
If they're comfortable, well, you can see a lot of students, there's a wide range of students that are very comfortable interacting with others and playing, and some that are kind of don't really know how to go up and respectively talk to someone or share different things with them. So seeing how that really put a damage on some of the developmental aspects of a child's growth is kind of interesting to see, especially at that like 3rd and 4th grade age where they're really kind of finding their true friends and they're interacting with each other.
Yeah, and you've sort of learned what's sort of that textbook for where they should be, and now you're seeing how that's had an impact. And you all felt the impact, but you're at a very different place, in your development and your education. So it's really interesting. So that leads me to the question of, can you feel your internship enhancing some of your classroom experience or the knowledge that you're gaining currently and that you're like connecting? Kelly mentioned sort of connecting those dots. Are there anything else that you're sitting in class and you think of an experience at your internship or it sort of illustrates it for you?
I can go. A lot of my classes this semester are about like childhood psychopathology or like growth and development. And I think it's almost like uncanny how my like the curriculum like in my classes are lining up with like what I see at internship. Like it's we'll talk about one thing on Monday and I see it the next day at internship. I think a lot I'm learning, like recently I was learning about autism spectrum disorder, and there is just so much to learn. And, you know, I get to experience that firsthand. And I actually like chat with my professors about it. Like, I'm doing this thing, like, do you have any advice? I think it's like super helpful to have like the whole psych undergrad faculty like on your side.
Mhm. Absolutely. And that's great because I think you're engaged in a different level of conversation, you know, then because you're seeing it. That's really great. Very cool. So what advice would you guys give to other students who are thinking about or planning on doing an internship? Is there one piece of advice that you feel like would be most helpful for them?
I think when deciding on a site, just to really be open-minded, because I knew going in, I definitely like working with toddlers wasn't my, I guess, goal. But like I said before, with experience comes clarity. So once you get that experience, you'll know whether or not this is what you want to do, but you might fall in love with it as well. And it'll set you on the path to what you want to do post-grad. So definitely just keep an open mind.
Great. Thank you. What about you, Kelsey?
Honestly, what we said before, just call, because the more you try to contact them over email and they just keep ignoring you, if you give them that one phone call, they're gonna be like, oh, Kelsey called, and then everyone that's in that room knows your name now, and they're gonna know how much you want that internship and how much you're willing to do to get it. So just give a phone call. It's so easy.
That's great. Thank you. All right. What about you, Kat?
I would say like definitely like keep a lot of like options open, and like not be afraid to have like a long list of sites you're like interested in case like some places like don't work out for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. What about you, Logan?
I think just not, I guess, reaching out to more places that you might think. Just keeping your mind open that some things might not always work out, having like a backup plan in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
Because the process can be long and hard at points. Just knowing you have a backup plan or something else just to follow back through.
Absolutely. What about Abby?
I'd also say have a lot of options. And like you could do like a bunch of different ones that are like that like aren't like you'll have like one and then you can have an option that's unrelated to that. So then you can have like an all around like options, I guess.
Yeah.
Options.
Absolutely. And that brings up a great point. I think sometimes people get so stuck on one type of place or person that they want to work with that they don't open themselves up, and then they don't end up with any options because they're too limited. So I think that's a great piece of advice. What about you, Noah?
Yeah, I would say definitely apply to a lot of places, but also do your research too while applying for these places, because a lot when you like just like look up some of these places, it's a lot of surface level information. You won't find out too much about like what necessary the roles are that you might be doing, or just even learning about the staff too.
Yeah.
Seeing if they're the type of people that like you may like to be around or they can help you. So yeah, definitely try to do your research before getting into these internship sites.
Absolutely. And coming to things like this, right? And hearing from students who are actually doing it is really important. So perfect. Thank you. What about you, Justin?
I think the most important thing is to kind of make the experience your own. You don't really know, in my case especially, you might know what you're getting into and it might not at all be what you're expecting or anything like that. And also I think it's one of the first times as college students where, you know, we're in an environment where you are from a college as an intern or a student, and this is what you're supposed to be learning. So like I said, just, make it your own thing and enjoy it as much as you can. And it's a really great opportunity to kind of apply what you learn and what you're interested and passionate about. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's huge because you could very easily kind of be passive and sit back and wait for things to come to you. But it sounds like at each of these sites, people want to hear what you want, what you need, what you want to learn, and they're willing to engage with you. So putting that out there, and it's not something that's going to happen right away, but once you're more comfortable putting that out there and really getting as much as you can out of the experience, because the people at these internships want to give that to you. They are excited to share that with you. So that's really important. Thank you. And Kelly.
I think going off of Justin a little bit, like definitely take initiative and also like challenge yourself, because I don't think there's many opportunities where you get to challenge yourself to this level.
Yeah.
So I definitely like take the opportunity.
Absolutely. And you're doing it in a safe environment where you have people supervising you. You've got a whole class devoted to peer support and supervision. So you've got supports and resources. So really taking that initiative and learning as much as possible is so important. And then so I know it's still fairly new. I know that the semester goes by fast and all of a sudden you'll be done with these internships. Is there anything from anybody that they're hoping to gain? Some people have already gained. You've all gained quite a bit already, but are there any other things people want to mention, sort of hoping to gain from this experience?
I think just gaining more relationships, whether that's with your supervisor, building that connection, especially with the staff members. I think you can always work on your communication, especially with at a professional level. It doesn't matter who it is, someone that's kind of above who you are, it's important to build relationships with them.
Absolutely. Anything else from anybody else?
I would say there's so many jobs in your career choice. Like I want to do something in psychology and I would never think of horse therapy. So kind of just gaining more knowledge about different kind of career paths I could go down.
Absolutely. And that's huge because psych is so diverse. There are so many things you can do. And so I think that's a huge opportunity to just discover and explore, because it's a semester and it's, it goes by fast, and then you have this experience that you can hold on to and learn from, which is so important. So that's great. I wanted to open it up. Does anyone else have any questions or comments for our presenters? I feel like you've said it all, which is excellent, and I greatly appreciate it. So I am going to give a little bit more information, and while I'm giving a little bit more information, it'll help people that may want to ask questions a chance to ask those questions. So I'm going to share my screen one more time. If I can find, here we are. Hold on. Okay. Here we are. Okay. So just a few more things, just informational again for people that are thinking about doing an internship. If you're sitting here and you're a senior and you feel like, oh my gosh, I think it might be too late for me, it's really not. You still have the opportunity to engage in really meaningful, relevant experiences, especially for those that are thinking about going on to graduate school, but also just those wanting to go out and get a job in the field. A couple of the students have said it already. It's great to add to your resume, and the more experience, the better, and it'll just give you more bandwidth and give you more opportunities. So think about even how to pursue things over the summer. I've even talked to some students about having experiences over winter break, if there's volunteer opportunities, paid or unpaid internships, jobs related that are in the field, really expand that definition of what relevant experience is, because you still have an opportunity to do things that will really help further your knowledge of the field. And then a couple of things that you can do to prepare for an internship. Think about where your interests lie. Is there a particular career path? Are you more interested in research or practice? We've developed more internships that are involving research, and so we can help connect you to those if that's where your passion lies, versus really practicing with different people in the field. Think about settings you want to explore, specific populations that really interest you, and then ultimately schedule a meeting to talk about it. The best thing you can do is have conversations. Start with your advisor, then come and talk with me. And we have a wonderful graduate assistant this year who's also available to talk with you. And we can talk about resumes and cover letters and really get you moving on that path to do an internship. I also always recommend speak to professionals you might know in the field, just to understand more about what their role is and what they had to do to get to that place. And then if there's internship or career fairs, so many of them are virtual now, it's much easier to connect and really get those knowledgeable sources. And a little bit about timeline for internship search. So prior to and during your advising period, you really want to talk about how to integrate the internship experience into your coursework. And then on the internship website, there's an internship interest form that I receive, and it gives me more information. So before you meet with me or with Stephanie, our graduate fellow, fill that form out so we have information about you and we can access information that's going to be most helpful. Before registering for the course, you need to have secured an internship, which is a shift from the past. So you want to make sure that you're scheduling interviews and doing that research so that you can have your internship set and then register for the course. And prior to the start of the new semester, we'll make sure that you're all set and you've confirmed your start date, and you can be ready to begin as soon as the semester begins. Mid-semester, there's an evaluation that your supervisor will fill out, and you really review and update goals. And then at the end of the semester, again, there's another evaluation and a meeting with your internship instructor and your supervisor so that you can really talk about the experience and what that was like for you. And then just a few tips on finding an internship. So really think about your career goals. Ultimately, what are you thinking you might want to do? Another very practical but important step is creating space in your schedule so that you can actually fit in those, sometimes 8 to 15 hours, say. We require 8 to 10 hours, but some sites might need you a little bit more. So creating space in your schedule to actually be able to go out and do this internship. Again, going to career fairs and internship fairs, doing some of your own research. So there's lots of information on the internship website. So start there and explore and just look at some things. Before doing an internship, you can shadow. You can, shadow someone for a day and get a sense of what their role is like, or do some volunteer work. Another huge step is working on your resume. Have that base resume done and then have someone review it and make sure it's really up to date so that you're ready to go. Contact potential employers or potential internship sponsors. There's a lot of places that are willing to take on interns, and they're excited to do that. So getting in touch and getting kind of ahead of the game is really important. And probably the biggest piece is don't be afraid to ask for help. Ask me, ask whoever it is that can help you get on your way. But mostly come and find me and we can sit down and talk about the process, because it's really important to engage all the supports you can so that you can be successful. All right, so I will lastly say that we had 2 virtual internship fairs, and this discussion have all been recorded and they'll be posted to the internship website. So you'll be able to look at those other fairs if you missed them. And that is a great jumping off point to learn more information. And lastly, I just want to say thank you so much for joining